Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to the number one podcast for millennials, where we take a deep dive into culture, health, and the ever evolving educational landscape. The topic of today's episode is freedom at a cost. Freedom to vote or not. Freedom to educate your children or not. Freedom to practice religion or not. Some would say freedom has indeed come with a price. And I have two amazing individuals here today to speak on it. So, just to give you an idea of how the conversation will go down, this is a panel discussion on social and political topics, and both persons will be asked two open ended questions of which to reflect upon and answer. The other person may engage on the same topic if they so choose. Honesty is the best policy, even in the case of an unpopular opinion. Each question will have a prelude or a scenario just to give you some context. The manner in which you respond is completely up to you. So let's go ahead and get the conversation started. The first question is for Ms. Connor. So, every generation wants the freedom to define life on its own terms. As fewer Black families regularly participate in church, turning from religious to more spiritual for one reason or another, some people wonder if we've lost more than just a Sunday routine. If faith and a sense of community help to hold our people together, what happens when that's no longer the case? Are we watching our culture hit rock bottom because everyone wants the freedom to do their own thing?
I would have to say that first, a little background about my religious history, if that's okay. I'm from southern Mississippi, the southern belt of Mississippi, the Baptist Bible toting Mississippi part of Mississippi. And I went to a southern black church all my life. I know how to raise a hymn and all those things. You know, when the pastor calls us down to the altar for prayer, all the things, and we learn from the Bible. And so I think that right now, in the age that we live in, there lacks the village concept. Because the church, when I was growing up, was just a part of my village. The village consisted of my school, my community, and my church. And so all of those carry certain values, they carry certain lessons, they carry certain levels of support, experiences, and things that were lessons taught along the way. And so, oh, I'm sorry. And so, with that being said, I think that it's not that people have moved from being religious to spiritual. Because if I'm honest, as I am in my 40s at this time, I think that a lot of the things that I was taught growing up in my home church and church when I went to college and finding my own church to attend as an adult moving here to Atlanta is that I believe in the Bible. I believe in what I was taught. I believe in what the word says. But I do think that spiritually, I worship or I talk to God or I speak to what I believe in a different way. And that's not to say I've abandoned the traditional ways of getting on my knees and praying or, waking up on my knees and praying or blessing my food or things like that. It's just that me and him are now communing in a conversation because that's what the foundation was in my village. It was a relationship. And so now mine has become even less traditional and more spiritual. So I think that what has happened in this generation, in this age, is that the village has diminished. And so I think the village is what parents give attention to, what communities give attention to, what the government gives attention to.
Agreed.
And mostly that's school. Because school, if you think about church, your community, your village, your household, your neighbors, and then school is the thing that provides resources and monetary access to things that
people need in certain situations, or to have a right to a free and public education. Unless I think adults now who are raising children are focused on the routines of going to church every Sunday. Years ago we started to relax how we dress going to church.
Right.
And so I
Wearing
think
jeans.
right. So I
on
think that as
Sundays.
opposed to stockings and dresses and things of that nature and Easter outfits. So I think that some traditions still exist, but I also think that some things have become more modern. And modern doesn't necessarily mean good or bad. It just means different. And so I can't say that parents are not giving their children a spiritual foundation or a religious foundation or reading the Bible or learning how to say the Lord's Prayer or, to honor those things. I think that it depends on your preference of how you do that. And we were kind of just given understanding that you do that. And so now it's more so like how you do that. What does that look like? And what do you use that for to raise your children, to go out into the world and be adults, to solve problems, to have something that you lean on that's beyond yourself. And so I would say that it's not that we've lost the Sunday morning routine. I think the Sunday morning routine has simply changed. Because I'm not always in church on Sunday morning. I may be watching a podcast of somebody preaching on YouTube. Or I may not be at church on Wednesday night or go to Sunday school, but there's still a presence of religion and that spirit realm mixed together for me that I have created my own routine for how I lead in my spiritual or live in my spiritual or religious life.
Okay. All right. That's interesting. I just wanted to bring up real quick, I guess, a contrast that I have noticed just being a millennial. I'm not ashamed to say I am a millennial, but I have noticed for me a contrast. Example, Christianity versus Buddhism. So there, a couple of months ago, we had these wonderful beings to come through Clayton County, these Buddhist monks. I'm like slightly familiar with the religion. Like I think meditation is like the major premise of what they do. Like they're very peaceful. And they were walking through Clayton County, different parts of Georgia. They made it through other states, I believe. And it just seemed like these monks, they're clergymen in a different for people who are watching, they are Asian clergymen who represent the Buddhist faith, and the major premise is meditation, like us, and peace. And so they were walking for peace, and it just seems like they brought out so many people of different races, of different ethnicities, of different backgrounds, and people were just so fascinated, and it moved people almost to tears. There were older people that wanted them to pray for them or for their babies and things like this. And then I think about Christianity again, freedom to practice religion. I think about Christianity, what it has become, different sects of Christianity. So for a lot of Black people, it is Baptist, sometimes it's AME or whatever the case may be, but it just seems like there's more of a peacefulness with the people, with, like I said, the Buddhist monks, the people with that religion, as opposed to Christian. A lot of people consider themselves to be Christian of that faith, but yet there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of violence, and as they say, lying, stealing, killing. With the Bible, you see so much of that, almost a hypocrisy to the religion. And so I just brought that up because, again, freedom to practice religion. And you can just kind of tell me how you feel about that. But why does it seem like for a religion that I was birthed in, my parents were baby boomers. My mother was 43. My father was 50 when I was born, conceived, what have you. So it just seems like from my childhood up until now, it seems like there's just so the peace element that seems to be lacking within the Christian faith, and it seems to be more or more of an increase with the peace, or an actual practice of peace within, just like I said, the Buddhist monks and that faith. Like, am I tripping, or is it, or is that a reality?
This answer is going to end not in a popular opinion. I may have to even apologize to my mom, but here we go. So 2 things are in this comment question that you asked. I actually went to see the Buddhist monks come through Clayton County at South Lake Mall. And you're right. There was a gathering of people of all races, all ages, all demographics, and it was a beautiful thing to see. And you pointed out the word peace several times. I think that that's what we look for in religion. I think, and I don't want to overstep because I'm not familiar with everybody's religion or their direct practices, but whatever you serve, whatever you believe in, whatever you give honor to, whatever you depend on, whatever you worship, I think we all do that to attain a level of peace. A piece of love, a piece of love, a piece of protection, just a peace of mind, a peace in how we move around the world. And so I think that the foundation of what Christ came down for was not only to give his life, but to also provide people with a level of peace. And so that's in every religion. So I respect what they did, walking from, I think it was Texas to DC, and just the people that they moved, and even the people that didn't quite understand, but they understood I need to be present at this event, even in Clayton County. I may not go to church, I may not practice religion, but I think this is a movement I need to witness or be a part of. So even in that, it impacted lives. When it comes to Christianity, we also have to understand that it's based on a foundation of indoctrination. Okay? So let's go back to slavery.
Can you kind of define what that means?
Absolutely. Let's go back to slavery.
Okay.
Okay. So if we're honest, and we're sitting here, we're 3 Black people in America. And before we became who we are and were born into the parents and the grandparents and the great grandparents and the great great grandparents of our parents, we were in Africa. And so the religion that we've been indoctrinated into and have begun to practice in the majority, particularly those that are in southern Bible Belt states, comes from the transatlantic slave trade that brought us over here, and they began to enslave us. And when it was time for Sunday morning to come, they went to church and we went to our church, and they gave us the Bible to practice, and the preachers in the churches of the Black slave house area and the preachers that were at the white church were preaching the same doctrine to different people. And so I'm not saying the Baptist preacher that the Black enslaved people did not have a spirit of the Lord or a call on them to give a word, but I also know that the foundation of the word that pastor gave came from the Bible that was written by man. Now here we go. So now God is God. Jesus is Jesus. God did not write the Bible.
True. This is true.
Now, what he passed down to Moses to write on the stone was the 10 Commandments. Those are the words that God gave him directly to write that came into the Bible. But there are some things in the Bible there about, honor your master or serve your master. That
part has always bothered me. It was a struggle for me.
Right. Serve your master. And as we grew up as more woke, as they say, that they're trying to, dissipate as an even term or action or a thought process, like you can control that as the government. But we became more woke and we realized, now hold on now.
Right.
I get that God and Jesus is Lord and they're the masters of the universe and all these things. But when you said master and you told this Black preacher to go down to the slave quarters and preach on Sunday, you were indoctrinating them off the basis of this is what the word of God says. And I think that as we progress to very much include this time in American history under this president and this regime who use that same indoctrinated word to push, we're a Christian country. We have Christian values. America is this, and we stand
of coercion.
Right. And so therefore they try to use it every season to indoctrinate those of us who believe in something that's greater than us, that will keep us in perfect peace, that will keep us protected, that will come see about us when we need them to, when we can find solace in. But we have to understand that a lot of what you feel right now, what you describe right now is discord in religion, is particularly Christianity, is because we're woke now. And we see some things that we didn't see and our ancestors didn't see at the time, and we see them in real time. So we know that we believe in it. I think for me, I don't serve it. I have a connectionship, a relationship, a belief of what I talk to him about, what I believe is what the word says to me and my discernment. And I try to pull out those things that don't cause me to be in discord or upset or be bothered by the things happening around me. But I think that's it. We can't expect for something that was written by man to indoctrinate a certain people to come down to 2026 and all of a sudden you don't feel the actual 400 plus years of what that looks like now when people are waking up and understanding. I'm not quite sure if how I was raised or what I was taught to believe or what I read in the Bible was everything that I need that's perfect for me to know because it's 100% fact. It's 100% truth, and it was written in the purity of
Mhm.
just blessing people, but it really just indoctrinated people.
I want to add
Right.
on to that.
I'm
Okay.
sorry that was so long, but
No, you
that's
fine.
been on
You
my
fine. Go
chest.
ahead. Go
Especially
ahead.
with this Nolan Wells. Never mind.
All right, Mr. Light, how do you feel?
So Bishop Desmond Tutu has a
Mhm.
as a saying. He said that when the missionaries came over to Africa, they had the Bibles, we had the land.
Mhm.
They said, "Close your eyes, let us pray."
Mhm.
When we
Mm.
opened our eyes, they had the Bibles, and the missionaries had the land.
Mhm.
So to kind of piggyback on what you're saying is that I think now the Bible, from my perspective, has always been used to control
Mhm.
a certain group of people, whatever, blacks, they even
Mhm.
use the Bible or to when they came
Measure
over
of
to
coercion.
yes, measure of coercion. I like that.
Mhm.
They even use that, when they were dealing with the Indians,
Indigenous.
the Native Americans. They even, they didn't know nothing about the Bible,
Mhm.
so it was just used as a method to control people. And I'm not
Is that
religious.
why millennials are pulling away from?
No, I'm gonna tell you why I think millennials are pulling away.
Mhm.
I don't know for a fact, and you can kind of touch in on that. But I think our access to information now is so huge.
Mhm.
I read so much stuff and I've learned so much stuff about biblical perspectives.
Mhm.
And I was reading one article, somebody's post on Facebook, and it was said that the way that, and I'm not advocating for the devil. So I
Mhm.
don't want nobody misconstrue. Oh man, we see having up. But look, they said in the Bible, you would think with the devil being such a bad person, there would have been stories of him just killing throughout the Bible. But the only person that did all the killing in the Bible
Mhm.
was God, who had did all the had done all the killing. So I'm
Mhm.
just saying all that to say is that
Hmm.
people use that book to manipulate, control people. Meanwhile, you looking at this, hey, look, you believe this. Meanwhile, you over here raping folks or
Mhm.
stealing money or just doing a lot of evil
Mhm.
things. So that's just my but no, to get back to why I think millennials are doing, yeah, just that access to information. Y'all got more information because I'm 59,
Mhm.
and the information that you have as a millennial, I didn't have that back in the
Mhm.
70s.
Mhm.
Our information, our access to information was limited. We would go to
Mhm.
church, get your information from the church. You'll go to school, get
Mhm.
your information from the school, and you'll come home, get your information from the parents.
Mhm.
Now, my 16-year-old son, he's playing chess with somebody in China. Or,
Mhm.
so maybe if they have discussions about, religion or, just politics when he's talking to this person from, I'm sorry, not China, Japan, I'm sorry. So, but I'm saying that just y'all access to information. And I think as we continue to go on, like Gen Z, I think those kids are like, what, 12 and 13 or 14, they're going to have even more access to information. And so the more and more access to information you have, I think it's pulling us far and further away from the control of that Bible and religion.
And I also think, and this is my last point on this about the Bible too. I love that. The Bible also switched up the actual narrative. Because again, it was written by man. So think about the 12 tribes, or is it
Mhm.
13? 12 tribes of Israel.
Mhm.
Think about the pictures that hang in some people's houses of
Mhm.
Jesus. Think about, I had a Bible since I was in kindergarten, and my first Bible was white, had a little zipper, a gold zip on it. I would open it up and it had pictures. And all the pictures, Mary, Jesus,
Mhm.
Joseph,
Mhm.
David,
I know where you're
everybody,
going. Mhm.
white.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Last Supper, white.
Mhm.
And so the Bible was also whitewashed. Because
Mhm.
if you really go back into the history of even how it's described in the Bible, what Jesus looked like in real time, he was a black man.
So can I ask you something?
Let's be very clear, but you got me looking at, like, when we didn't have him in my house. No house I went into in my village had a white Jesus because we black like that. But at the end of the day, if you, even the stories about Egypt, movies they make on TV,
Yeah.
You know, how you gonna tell
Yeah.
me? And then even the way the pyramids, the heads are on there and the noses is cut off to make it look like they didn't have wide noses. Who has wide noses?
You the only one.
Us.
Mhm.
So everything that's read, even with America, like everything that they have tried, they have done exactly what they set out to do. Steal people, steal land, make money, collaborate with other countries. Don't forget your Europes and your Britons and all of them. They was all a part of this conglomerate
Mhm.
to do this thing. Columbus didn't discover nowhere. And we read and learned that in school every
Mhm.
single day was a whole rhyme about it.
Mhm.
But he has a holiday.
Right. But then I'm gonna leave you with this. I went to church every Sunday. My grandmother taught my Sunday school class and people in the community. And the first question I asked that caused controversy in my grandmother's Sunday school class, it did not play,
Mhm.
was so just a quick question. So it was first Adam and Eve. They had 2 sons.
Mhm.
I'm just trying to figure out where the wives came from.
Mhm.
So if it was just Adam and Eve, the first man and woman on the whole world, they had 2 sons. Where the wives come from?
Mhm.
Over there somewhere that was already existing. Like, come on. And I'm
Mhm.
not discounting the Bible, my spirituality, my relationship with God, my ancestors' beliefs, or anything like that, because it's been the foundation. And I believe in the blessings of the Spirit that come upon us if we do what we're
Right.
supposed to do. I believe in heaven and all those things, or the afterlife. Let's just say that.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, though, everything was set up to make us not believe we are who we are.
Mhm.
And we've been who we've been since the beginning of time.
Mhm.
You can't tell me Jesus is black.
Yeah. I
Stop
agree.
this.
Mhm.
I agree.
And they're mad because they can't acquiesce that flavor.
Mhm.
You're right. You're right. Okay. All right. So we're gonna come back to the freedom to practice religion in a moment. The next question is for Mr. Lott. So we are now switching from the topic of freedom to practice religion, now the freedom to practice politics or to engage in politics. All right, so for Mr. Lott, so the talking point is every election season, we are told that our vote is our voice. But many Black communities still feel like the same issues, education, healthcare, housing, and economic opportunity, for example, never really change no matter who is elected. If every election comes with the same or just about the same talking points, what's really on the line for the Black community in the next 4 years? Also, has the governor's race become about real change or the best campaign? Before you say anything, I wanted to bring up really quick. I remember when there was what's her name? Stacey Abrams, when she was running for governor, and I just want to say as a disclaimer, I am not very learned, I guess you could say, when it comes to the political aspect of things. I thought it was something in the Bible that said something about not really being, gravitating to things of a political nature. So I'm just not that way. I know enough to have a conversation. So you all, like I said, fill in the gaps. But Stacey Abrams, African American female, was running for governor of Georgia at one point in time, and then there were different things surrounding that situation. So I just kind of wanted to bring that up for the audience, for people who are watching, so that when we, kind of go into your response, that's just something to kind of ponder and think about
Gotcha.
with us being a red state. But continue.
Okay, so it's kind of interesting that we talked about religion, and now we're talking about politics. Some people look at politics as like a religion to control people. You got the Republicans, the MAGAs and their beliefs, and then you have the Democrats and their beliefs, and then you have the Black Democrats and their beliefs. And a lot of times it's clashing and conflicting. But I think one of the things, particularly in our community, we have to be educated on how to vote and the strength of voting. I think that my mother's 81, and again I'm 59, and my youngest son is he's 16, and I think that the further and further back we go,
Mhm.
the less and less we are inclined to vote.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So I think that one of the reasons that I believe that is because I don't think there's a tangible connection between my vote and what I'm getting
Mm.
as far as the
Hmm.
resources or access to resources, information like that. So I think that's one of the things that we need to talk about. And I also think that locally,
Mm.
I think that is more important
Mhm.
than nationally than voting for the president. And I'm not saying don't vote for the president. So don't
Don't
um,
come for you.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Don't at me. That's how the millennials say, right? Don't at me. But I think that your mayor, your chief of police, your city councilman has more of a direct impact on my day-to-day life.
Absolutely.
Now at the national level, it has more impact on, my taxes, if you will, things of that nature. But I really think it's important at the local level. And then last thing I want to say is that even what they teach us about politics,
Skewed.
when you get up on the big stage, they almost like tear it apart.
When you say they teach us, can you be specific?
The powers that be,
Okay.
so here's my example. Like they tell us that there's 3 branches of government that George Washington did, and the founders of this country, they didn't want a kingship. They didn't want a dictatorship. So they came up with this philosophy. You got 3 branches of government. You got the executive, you have the judicial, and you got the legislative. Okay. But now when you look at politics, it's like we have a king. You got the Supreme Court speaks on the president's behalf. The judiciary is fashioning legislation based on what his beliefs and his wants are. And him as a president, the executive, he's just going around doing his thing as a complete disregard for the Constitution. So it's like it's almost like I've talked to some people who just like, you know what, man, forget it. I ain't even worried about voting.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's not, because it's just a mess either way you slice it. So I think it's really an uphill battle that we're fighting, and then especially when you're looking for, like, that's gonna be my lifesaver. Oh my God, you gotta vote or die. Puffy
Vote or
had-
die. No Diddy.
You
but
remember
vote or
that song?
die.
Yeah, it was like a
Hey.
campaign.
No Diddy, but it was vote or die for Obama, right?
Yeah.
Was it
Yeah,
Obama's
I
first
remember
campaign?
that.
Yeah, he had the shirts and everything. Yeah, I think I wore one. I'm just saying, I had nothing to do with what he did recently, but yeah, he did.
Yeah,
Our life depending on it.
yeah. So I think that but as a millennial, what's your attitude about voting? Do you? Because I'm gonna tell you,
That face said it
I'm
all.
Gen
No,
X.
I really don't want to jump into this conversation too much because I have mixed views about it, and I mean,
I do as well. Let's jump into
Mine
it.
are mixed. as
Mine are
well.
very mixed. Let's say this now. I've been telling here the Electoral College.
Oh my God.
that's what I had.
So
That's
where I
learned more when I got
recently in the past
older.
4 to 8 years
They have
begin
more
to
power than
think
the
very
popular
hard
vote.
about that, because they actually, whoever's on your
We don't
electoral
have the
college
power.
per
They have
your
the
state,
power.
you can vote and be 100% have been 100% for Kamala Harris. The electoral college go down there for
Right.
Georgia and decide
Right.
something different.
Right.
That's Georgia's vote.
Right.
And so for me, I began to, and I heard that in school. I learned it in school, but at that time, who really cares? Well, I cared because I always voted, because I was raised in a family of people to vote. My grandmother and grandfather maternally led the polls down from our house in our community every single time there was election. In fact, they were so Black excellence in the community that governors and senators and mayors of the city would come by their house for them to discuss with them what their policies and their views were, so they could influence the Black vote. And my grandparents was very, very strong about it. I sat and walked through some of those. Now I'm a kid. I'm eating, chips and cookies and whatever I'm doing. But I know I heard conversations where they say we cannot agree to support you in that because it does not add value to our community. At the end of the day, I vote because that's what my ancestors fought for me to do. and the ones that I
Right.
grew up with in my real time life, not the people that I see in history books, on the news, in the old movies, but my actual family. They were serious about that. At the same time, though, have I recently voted? And don't kill me here. I know I'm an educator. I'm educated, but have I voted in every single election in Georgia? Absolutely not. And I'm not saying because it didn't matter to me, but like you said, does it really matter to me?
Yeah.
And the condition of my life, Trump is in the White House destroying the entirety of everything that is America. We are the laughing stock of the world. He is ridiculous. And I'm thinking to myself, is somebody gonna do something?
See,
So I'm watching these clips, and I don't watch the real news, the fake news on the TV. I watch the real news, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, so nobody is gonna do anything.
yeah,
Obama wore a tan suit.
they had to fit.
Look nice.
This man has started a war. He is stealing billions of dollars for him and his children. He is causing all kind of chaos. Prices are high. He's disrespectful. He does not speak out about anything. This man tweets 24/7. He is the president of the United States. You don't have anything else better to do than tweet and put up memes. Who is saying something?
Right.
Cool
Let
down,
it have
friend.
been
Cool down,
any-
friend.
Because it's just like, I'm watching this in real time, like, in
Yeah,
200
it's a lot.
years, this
It's a
still
lot.
is not going to be fixed. It doesn't matter who comes behind Trump, who we vote for, and I hope it's not one of us, because then at that point, everything going to be blamed that he did
Yeah.
on that person.
Right.
Let it not be one of us. Let it be somebody
Yeah.
else, different demographic. But how are you going to fix this?
Mhm.
My guess.
I get it.
So voting for me is based on necessity,
Mhm.
but at the same time, it's not voting for me. It's based on, is it going to count past the value of tradition?
Right.
So my foundation for voting is tradition.
Mhm.
My purpose for voting when I vote is to make my voice or my vote count. But do I really believe it's counting for real? And I'm going to get some repercussions and change from it. I'm a public educator. Well, our salaries haven't been raised since we started teaching children.
Mhm.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? Like, the Department of Education no longer really exists.
Yeah. So I just want to bring it back to Mr. Lott really quickly. So I just wanted to Mr. Lott, for everyone who is watching, he has a large following on Facebook. So he posts a lot on social and political commentary, different things that happen. And so I'm always on my, feed and whatnot, and then some of your content will come up and everything. And so my question to you is what is, like, if you are in the comment section on some of the what you post that is political, like, what has been your what has been your most disturbing whether it came from a black person, white person, what is your most disturbing comment that you have received or that you noticed when you posted something that was political?
Yeah, so I get some vitriol from whites.
What does that mean?
When so like if I'm saying something anti-Trump, or if I'm challenging some policy, I'm getting some hate speak. I get some hate comments from them, and then from my own. I can't tell you the many times I've been called a coon because I say something where
They said this outright.
No, I mean in the comments.
Section.
Yeah, in the comment section, they call them just because you have a different belief. One minute they'll say, "Hey, look, blacks, we're not a monolith," but then it's like, "Hey, look, we all supposed to think alike, or we all supposed to vote this way." And so, but that's like even with the Carmelo Anthony case. I posted on that, and I got at that time, based on the information that was given, I was just kind of like, "Hey, dude, well, why you at a track meet with a knife, and why was that the first thing?" But now that more and more information is coming out, and so I've changed my stance on that. But at that particular time, and I got a lot of hate from blacks on that one. But then I got a lot of support, a lot of support. So that's been a challenge. Now, one of the challenges I'm getting today is with Toast on Linux and Rick Jackson. Y'all heard about that? You heard about that?
A little bit, a mention of it, but I'm not deep into details.
Okay, so the lady who owns Toast on Linux
Okay, it's a restaurant.
Yes, a
Mhm.
restaurant. Yeah,
Okay.
she has 2
She
locations.
took a picture with a
She took a picture with
a
The
politician.
gentleman,
Yeah.
the Republican representative, is running for governor
uh-huh.
of Georgia
Right.
against Keisha Lane's Bottoms.
And so now there's a movement that where they want to cancel her.
Mhm.
And I'm just like, this lady, she said she she's came out and given some statements.
Yeah.
She said that she didn't endorse him.
Mhm.
He's just there. She's a business owner. She welcomed him to her establishment. And he was like, "Hey, look, can I take a picture?" And she took a picture with him. But this lady employs blacks. I'm sure probably a majority of the people that work in her establishment.
So they're questioning her loyalty to the community.
Yeah,
Mhm.
there's a movement in the black community where
Cancel her
they want to
restaurant.
cancel her
Just
restaurant.
stop going. But now there was something that came out. I don't know if I saw it this morning or yesterday, where there was a gentleman that posted that he was in the restaurant when it happened, and he said when he came in there, it looked like it was staged because he said, I'm not from Georgia. I was eating in the restaurant. He said the people that came in the room with him had on suits and little pins. Of course, he knew they were somebody. He said they actually stayed and had a conversation for about 30 minutes.
Mhm.
But they were trying to cancel her restaurant. They did make a statement. And I think that initially with social media, like you said, you posted about the Carmelo Anthony situation under the tent before more facts came out.
Mhm.
We're in a digital age where the news is catching up to
us.
social media.
Yeah, right.
And social media finds one thing, like just the picture came up, and all of a sudden it was a whole narrative about what happened, why he was
Yeah.
there. People were hate speaking, people were loving it, people were just dismissing it. I'm not gonna follow her restaurant. I think that
That's
we're in
one of
an
my
age
talking
where
points. We'll get there.
news transposes and fast forwards in the speed of light.
Mhm.
And sometimes people have to go back, whether it be on the actual news or social media news or conversations or what people post as influencers or whatever they do, and retract some things because,
Yeah.
or retell the narrative that they gave originally because now there's more
Right.
facts, to include Nolan Wells situation.
Mhm.
It's social media. And I think too that that's also causing a lot of areas of life, whether it be from religion to school to community to reality to news. It's having a huge influence on how we commune, focus, and live together as people.
Mhm.
Everything is so just fast, real time,
Yeah.
real time. And back when I was growing up, things happened a little slower sometimes.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You had time to process some
Right.
stuff. You know, you had time to think about some stuff. You had time to have conversations about things. But social media is exasperating it sometimes and over sensationalizing some things that don't even have to go that far. If that is her choice, I don't agree with it. I've never been to the restaurant, but I recently was told about it even before this came up and I was going to go.
Mhm.
But I need to see what the real facts are. You retracted that
Right.
wasn't it, but somebody was there that said it looked like that. So what is the actual truth? I don't know. Do I need to know to go eat at your restaurant? No.
Right.
But do I think I need to be conscious of your belief system? Absolutely.
But even with that, are we canceling everything?
No.
You see what I'm saying? Because
Mhm.
Arthur Blank met with Trump. Oh, he was at his game. He took a picture with Trump.
Mhm.
And I know folks that are not canceling their Falcon season tickets because Arthur Blank took a picture with Donald Trump. And so it's kind of like we selective. We picking and choosing. But I hate that this lady, regardless to her politics, she's maybe lose her business because 90% of her clientele is probably African American. And once they get a movement going, and once we've decided to cancel you pretty much on borrowed time. Like even with Target,
Yeah.
they put the movement,
boycott.
Yeah, the Target boycott. They got the
Now, I was
movement.
with that now.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying. Yeah, I was with that as well.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You want to cancel DEI policies, and you want to follow this man. So it's like, you know what? Okay, cool. So you go ahead and do what you do.
I think with Black people, we have selective support choices.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know if they probably didn't necessarily agree or support Arthur Blanks with the picture, but they not gonna choose that picture over the Falcons.
Yeah,
You see what I'm saying?
right.
Whether he could have been a black owner on the
Mhm.
picture with Donald Trump. They were like, okay, well, this person decided to go left, but we still going to watch the Falcons.
Right.
Whereas with this restaurant, it's almost like, well, I ain't just committed to this restaurant. So if I just choose not to go, then because of what you did or what they said you did or what I know you did, then that's a little That's also me being selective because we
Yeah.
pick and choose what we support and don't support. Arthur
Yeah.
Blank should be bashed as much as the lady, but he's Arthur Blank. He's the owner of the Falcons, and you know
That's
the
my
Falcons
point.
in Atlanta. So it's kind of like we not studying that. We can ignore that, but we can't ignore this lady.
Right.
Mhm.
That's what
Okay.
I'm saying.
All right, you guys, if I may, I would like to move on to the topic of freedom to educate or freedom to education. All right, so this question is for Miss Connor. All right, so schools are being challenged to provide high quality special education services while balancing limited resources, staffing shortages, and growing student needs. Many teachers say they're under pressure to meet the needs of students who learn differently, while parents are becoming more vocal and even pursuing legal action when they believe their children aren't receiving services that they're entitled to. At the same time, some critics argue that some school systems seem more focused on maintaining student enrollment tied to funding than ensuring every child receives a quality education. So, Ms. Connor, my question to you is, are schools really making sure that no child is left behind, in quotes, because we know that's that was a law, that no child is left behind, or has special education become more about checking boxes and protecting funding? Where do you think the system may be dropping the ball?
That's a loaded question. But as always, even as an educator and a professional educator to this moment, I'm gonna always answer the question honestly. First we have to go back to where we are in this current administration with education. Um, well, let's not even just go back to this current administration. Every time there's an election, local, state, or the country, people are always going to have education as a part of their campaign speak, right? But have you ever heard or seen any of those promises about what they're going to do in education in their campaign speak happen in education? Oh, we're going to pay teachers more money. Where is the money? Oh, we're going to make sure children have quality curriculums and resources, and you know the funding will be there, but then they cut the funding and they pay for something else. And so now we have a Department of Education that's being dismantled or is dismantled. And this question, when you sent it to me in the pre-read, I read it and I thought about that. I think as of this month, the IDEA law or umbrella or services have moved from the Department of Education to the Department of Health and Human Services.
I think I heard about that.
Yeah.
Now that struck me when I heard it.
Yeah, I think I heard about that.
Because at that point, it no longer just goes to a learning disability or a reading deficiency or a education content area deficiency or a skill that you need. It becomes almost as if it could be under the umbrella of mental illness or be categorized as something else. Because how do you take a child who is suffering from not being able to focus in class on an IEP for ADHD and put them in the mental, human, and health services department? Schools have been built to attend to those deficiencies. But did schools start out doing that? I'm not sure, but I doubt that it was. But I know when I was in school in kindergarten from 1986 to 1999, being 45, 46 in September, there was always grouping going on in my school.
Yeah.
And I went to a predominantly white school, lived in a black neighborhood. But I walked out of my neighborhood every day and went to a predominantly white school. Like my senior class was like 90 people. We went to school together from kindergarten to 12th grade. Maybe 3 moved in, 3 moved out. But I was one of maybe 4 blacks in my class from kindergarten to 12th grade. And so they were grouping us then. My mama used to ask me when I would come home, because she was a teacher at my school, the white school. And when I would come home with my schedule, particularly in 7th, 8th, all the high school grades, because I went to a school that went from K6, that was elementary, you got to 7th grade, junior high, you was on the high school side to 12th grade. And when I started to get a schedule, even when I was elementary school, and we started changing classes in 5th and 6th grade, my mama asked me, who's in your class? because she knew if certain kids were in my class and she named my friends, my white friends' names, and if they were not in my class, my mama either told me or she went herself and got my schedule changed because those were the advanced classes. Those were gifted in that day. I had friends who were in the regular classes, and I had kids that went into the hallway where the classes were close together with smaller groups of children in those classes as well. And so for me, fast forward to being a principal, and I have parents in a impoverished community with high school diplomas being the highest level of education in the majority of different demographics outside of white being the lowest demographic, the smallest in my school at the time. And I have parents coming asking me and requesting, can they put their children on an IEP? And I'm knowing that you're asking that question for the benefits financially that may come with that. You're not asking that question to per se make it, in some scenarios, not all, that you're making sure that what's best for your child to have in the classroom to learn and grow and be able to go out into the world is not your main priority. So I would not just say, okay, parents request you get what you want. Let's have a conversation. Because I want you to know what you're putting your child into that's going to follow them for the rest of their lives. Because IEPs are really supposed to be the accommodations that kids are given. See, I get on the IEP in the 3rd grade or the 6th grade. I'm supposed to use the accommodations I'm given while I'm in class and moving throughout my schedule and grade levels to know how to handle those things independently outside of an accommodation inside of a classroom when I graduate from high school. Because nobody's giving you accommodations as a grown person.
No, when the cops stop you, they don't look at your IEP or your
right.
bill.
So the real purpose of an IEP is to give kids an accommodation for a while, and as they grow to be able to facilitate that themselves. I have ADHD, undiagnosed, unmedicated. My mama said, we not doping up my child and putting on no plans. She gonna get somewhere and sit down and be still.
That's right.
And it's a gift that I have to this day, but she taught me how to control it directly and indirectly. And so special ed has been to me another stigma that they put on certain groups and demographics of children, and they make it a thing that when you even do behavior and discipline in school, I have to consider that with your IEP. Or I have to consider is your behavior a manifestation of a deficiency that you have in a negative way. But I worked at a high school this past year in a metro district in a very privileged white community in the majority, 2,300 students, majority Hispanic, Black, white, and then everybody else after that. And I learned in doing AP testing this year for the first time in 10 years, electronically and not paper pencil, that a majority of the kids in that school who took the AP test were white. But instead of having IEPs, guess what they had? 504s.
504s,
Because there's not a negative connotation on a 504 like it is an IEP. And when they graduate and go to college, which 99.9% of them will, they can take a test, a college entrance exam that will allow them to get those same accommodations on their 504 in college. You're not getting an IEP accommodation. Well, I don't know that for sure, but I know about the 504 for sure. I learned that this year. One of my nephews, he was a busybody in school. 3rd grade. My brother's an educator. I'm going to let you go. Teachers were always complaining. I'm not going to say his name. That's my boy. He was moving too much. He was too busy. He talked too much. He distracting the other kids. He not doing his work. But he was finished with his work. You didn't keep him engaged. So he was done. Just like me.
He could have been gifted. That sounds like behavior of a gifted student.
And is. But the teacher kept him back for recess.
Oh,
made him write stuff on the board. His daddy went to the school at that time.
I've had students like that. That's indicative of a gifted student.
Yes. My brother, who is now a deputy superintendent, been a chief academic officer. At that time, he was a principal. He went down to the school. He and my sister-in-law said, my son is not staying behind for recess.
Right.
I need to see what your lesson plans and your curriculum that look like you're teaching in the class, and does it extend to all children? Is there differentiation that exists? Because what we are going to do is put him on a 504. Because you're not finna send him to the office, have him down and trying to explain himself because you didn't hold his attention in class. Most parents don't advocate for that because they don't know that. So it's our responsibility as educators and as community members and as people to let them know. And I might not be answering the question, but children are being left behind even if they are getting special education services.
Yeah. That's right.
Now let's be honest. I've been a teacher. I'm not on the pedestal. I was a human being and a teacher. Did I honor every accommodation every time for every child that had an IEP in my English classes from the time I taught 7th grade to 12th grade? No. Did I fill out the MTSS form and all? No. but I knew my
The
students.
documentation
That's
is
right.
very tedious.
It is, and
It
that's
is.
what
As an
exhausts people, and
educator,
that's why I say
It
even
is. It
if they
causes
have,
burnout. A 30-page IEP,
It's-
even
yeah.
if
and you
they
don't even
have
have
the
the time. Oh
plan,
my goodness.
and don't let you have a savvy parent with an advocate,
Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
knows?
Right.
and even the advocate that doesn't
Knows.
know. They know just enough words to get in a room and say, now, if you don't do this and you don't follow this, and y'all have me if I'm going down to the central office,
Right.
and guess what the district gonna do? Pay him and keep it pushing. It's
Mhm.
money allocated for that.
That's right.
And the bureaucracy that we
Okay.
sometimes experience at the school site is based on the laws that keep changing because things keep happening that we did not discover until it happened at that point in a school. There are things that are passed about school shootings, and we have different, emergency drills because somebody went and shot up a school.
Mhm.
That didn't always exist.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? It's certain things that we didn't have. IEPs didn't always exist. So it's like education is ever evolving, but in some cases, if not all, no matter if you go to the most affluent schools, private schools, prep schools, charter schools, or public schools, or hood schools, some children are going to be left behind. I have classmates that were left behind. I know adults today that act like they were left behind.
Yeah.
Who
That's right.
act like they were.
Left behind.
Yeah.
So I'm making a point for your question is that are we doing a disservice to children? Especially ed or
Yeah.
otherwise. And
Yeah,
if so,
that's
are some
kinda like
children
the-
being left behind when we are guaranteeing based on the law that we're not going to leave anybody behind? And as we know right now, there are adults that we know in our families, our communities, on our jobs, and everywhere we go that are operating without their accommodation.
Mhm.
People have been left behind for generations because the law is not to protect us or give us an advantage. In some cases, the law is to label us and put us at a disadvantage. They build jails based off of third grade reading scores. That's a fact.
It's gonna be so many comments on this video.
Let 'em
my
comment.
Goodness.
Because when I
I'm
walk
listening
into
to you talk, but
when
oh
I
my
walk into
God.
a school, and I'm sure
Y'all,
you do,
this
and you
is
do
the
as well, which is why we're here
conversation.
together. When we walk into schools, we go into schools to serve children. I'm a servant leader. You don't have to call me Principal Con or Miss Con or none of that. I am here to serve children because I had a village that served me,
Mhm.
that allows me to sit here. And I could have been on the IEP. Took the gifted test, and the white woman told my mom I missed the passing score by 1 point. How?
Yeah. That's crazy.
Wow.
I was in those classes though. I go back to my mama making sure my schedule made sure they was gifted kids blended in them regular classes that were advanced classes until they went to their gifted class for one period. I was in all of those classes.
Mhm.
And out tested, out presented, and outworked and outperformed than all of them.
Mhm.
Number 3 in my class only because a new girl came in 11th grade. I say that to say children are left behind every day.
Mhm.
But it's not just the school's responsibility.
I know that's right. Mr. Locke, did you want to add really quickly?
You
or
got me on
just...
some hot topics today. I feel a little warm.
I mean,
Yeah, I know.
I've been holding a few things in for a minute now since our last time together.
Yeah, and I apologize. I know the
Oh, I
questions
love it.
seem long,
No,
but
no,
I
I
love
like
it.
having intellectual
necessary,
conversations
though.
with people. And when I thought about who was going to be on the show, I was like, oh, they gonna give it to the
People
people.
need to know.
Yeah.
I know, but I appreciate your candor. I appreciate your, like I said, honesty is the best policy, even if it's an unpopular opinion. So
It's
I
everybody's
appreciate you.
It's everybody's lived
I
experiences.
appreciate
Yeah.
you.
Listen, I gotta add one more.
And I got one more question for you too.
Okay, one more perspective on that. It's not. I think, especially now in this era, it's too much emphasis put on the school
Mm-hmm.
to
Do everything.
fashion or raise, do everything for the kid. When my kids were young, we were reading to them, and my daughter, when she's
I had so
5,
many books.
4 or 5 years old, I'm reading to her. Her comprehension is clicking. Okay, now why did Michelle run away? Oh, because of, so I'm reading to her, and she can call out the words, but she was comprehending what she read. So now I'm saying all that to say now that I have some students who are 6th, 7th grade that can't read, and I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, there is no way your parent sat at home and heard you read and was just kind of like, just let it go. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so at some point, so the parents got to take a little
They do.
accountability and responsibility. And another thing, I think parents may not know how or what to do.
Right.
So I don't know if it needs to come from the church, but we just talked about the church and people pulling away from that. But somebody needs to be able to say like, hey, look, by the time your kid is 3 years old, and maybe it's a sheet or come from a doctor's office or something, your kid need to be able to do these things right here. Okay, then as a guide for a parent to understand where their kid should be developmentally. That's just like physically. If you have a kid that at 3, if the kid is still crawling, you would be
if they're
concerned.
not meeting certain milestones to
by
Absolutely, they're
physically, right? You would be like, yo,
developmentally and all.
right, but mentally,
intellectually too.
intellectually, we don't have that check, and so we kind of like, well, he know how to put up, he know how to go to the bathroom by himself, he know how to dress himself, but you're not. We need to have some type of barometer with the cognitive. So a parent, if you don't notice this by a certain time or a certain age, hey, look, I need to get my kids some help.
We gotta have an SOP for that. It has to be something that we can gauge for these current parents. Because you think about your parents and you as a parent.
Listen, my dad had
and my
that belt.
parents, my parents knew they knew what the benchmarks were.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But then now,
younger parents,
children that I have served, they knew what the benchmarks were because they'd watch people raise children. They'd been a child, they'd seen their parent, or whatever, they raised children themselves. But you also had pedia doctors that you went to that gave you the benchmarks. Your child should be this tall by this age. Your child should be this way. Your child should be speaking these words or whatever. But my mother and them also were educators at the elementary level. So my mama taught first grade. I knew how to read when I was 4 years old. I went to an amazing Head Start program. So I knew how to read. Like I knew how to sound out words when I went to kindergarten. And they're in there teaching kids how to what the letter K sound like. I can read a word with the K in it, and I think that parents these days, as they are younger, in some cases, they lack resources, not to their own account in some cases, and sometimes to their own account. They lack the village concept. I've taught kids and had children in a building that didn't know their grandmama's name. What's your grandma's name? Oh, I don't know. I just call her grandma. I know my both my grandparents' whole
names.
Middle
name, right? Middle name,
you see what I'm saying?
name,
It's a different time. My mama finished, like my mama got a college degree. Man, I'm a 4th generation educator, 4th generation college graduate. Some kids' parents finish high school with IEPs or otherwise. And you said that, coming out the household, how can the parent not know and heard their child read at home? Are they even listening to them reading at home? We went to book fairs. We had books bought for us. We had to write in cursive. I have children that cannot write their names legibly in the 12th grade. Last year, what does this spell? We can sign our names in cursive. We have kids writing in augmented language because they're typing and texting all day.
Yes.
We had a time where we could talk in our colloquial language with our friends and shoot the breeze.
Right.
But we also had a time where it was formal. When you got up in church and you did a speech, or you went to the grocery store, your mama walked in the bank and you was with her and your daddy, you heard them handle the King's English and talk business. What examples are our kids getting? And the music is trash.
That's a whole nother
everything that is fed to our children these days does not have education at the forefront of a priority. If you pass a grade, you good. Your mama ain't checking your report card. Won't answer the teacher phone call. And she supposed to know your reading level. You sitting on a whole folder with the EOC score, the map results from the mid-month and all of that. And the parent looking at this like,
all right now,
I don't even write checks.
Say the things.
I just tap my phone. You want me to look at this algorithm right here on this map data? Like, you need to call me to your classroom and have an instructional curriculum day for me to come in and you explain something to me. But before I come in, what are you going to give me for coming in? I'm going to feed you some spaghetti. And some salad. And I'm gonna get you down here. We're gonna talk about Megan Scores because I know she's a highlight of your life. But she tearing up our state school report card. But you laugh, but I'm telling you in real time, parenting is entirely different, and also depending on what part of the country you from.
No, I didn't even think about that.
Black people, we
Wow.
speak common language. We have common practice. We can pull up pictures and slogans right now that we from different places and we all recognize what that
Already know
means.
what I mean. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But you have other people that grew up other places that may have different traditions and didn't have different, standards or whatever in their household. You read to your daughter. Somebody taught you that and showed you that, and you knew to do that as an educator.
Mhm.
What about the mama who barely finished high school, had her child when she was in the 10th grade? Now the child's in middle school. She in her early 20s. And now you trying to tell me to check a school score report card?
Mhm.
Rating on a test is mid-month. I had to go to work yesterday.
Mhm.
You better be glad he got in there and took the test.
Mhm.
And you want me to interpret this data by myself at home?
Mhm.
Where's the education for the adults from educators?
Yep.
We're educating children, generations of children, but there's a missing spot. And I hate to take over this, but I got something on me today.
Mhm.
It's a missing piece, which is who's educating the parents. I remember my grandmother going into the community that we lived in, from people that lived in four-sided brick houses like us to those that lived in trailers, and she talked to them about what they needed to know that was going on in the school for which she was a teacher.
Mhm.
Hopewell Elementary in our community, well, Hopewell Baptist Church was across the street where we grew up. And she recognized, hey, your child been coming to school. I know you ain't got everything you need. Here goes some clothes I'm gonna give you, but let me tell you something. Now this one right here, they okay. But you need I'm gonna give you these books in this bag. Make sure they read. So when they get to school, this is where they need to be.
Mhm.
Who having those conversations? You don't even want to call the parent and tell them they child acting up in your class. You try to take their phone, they wouldn't give it to you. You'll email a parent before you call them.
And will.
Send them a whole group class text message and don't even talk to them on the phone. And you mad, they talking about they ain't checking their child homework. Can they interpret it?
True story.
Mhm.
I'm confused about the new marriage and I got some degrees.
Yeah.
So who is teaching the grown people? Who is modeling, let me go read to my child at 5 years old and know that I need to hear her regurgitate or tell me what she thinks she heard for comprehension's sake?
Mhm. And all of that, everything, the parents are the first teachers. You see what I'm saying? The parents are the first teacher. And so we talk about, single family, single parent homes, or, the mother is working a lot, whatever. When my kids were young, like 1, 2 years old, we didn't talk baby talk. Baba, want your baba? We talked in full, complete sentences. And, my daughter got to a point where, if we used a word that she didn't know what it meant, she would either use contextual clues to build up her own understanding of what that meant, or she would just ask, Dad, what does that mean? And so now both of them, they have great vocabularies and, articulate and very nice vocabulary.
Same way I grew up.
You see what I'm saying? And so, but that's because, and then I think they said, like a parent that's involved with the kid, by the time the kid is 3, the kid knows maybe like 5,000 or 6,000 words by the time they're 3. And you got to do a lot of talking to your kid and listening for them to be exposed to that many words in 3 years.
You do.
You see what I'm saying? So that's a lot of,
and even them hearing you having adult conversations.
Yeah.
My parents, my aunts, my uncles, my mom and them, the adults in my life.
Isn't that a part of social emotional learning?
They always, they always spoke, unless it was a barbecue or some relaxed event. They always spoke like I like to call the King's English.
Yes.
Now, every now and then, it was colloquial because I'm from Southern Mississippi, so there was some breaks in, whatever the vernacular was. But when it came time to go into outside of home or to an event or just in normal language, and we riding in the car, we pronouncing whole words, all the syllables. That's important, and I think that we as teachers have to realize that we're not just there to teach curriculum, we're there to teach skills.
Yes.
English is about teaching a child how to analyze, explain, and communicate orally and in writing. It's not about the close reading protocol and all these other things y'all be calling this stuff around here, the order operations. Science teaches me how to solve problems, come up with a hypothesis, prove is it right or wrong, solve a problem, and get the outcome that I need as a result. I don't need to know the whole periodic table.
Agreed. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my goodness. So I hate that we have you good. I hate that we have run out of time today. I feel like there should be hopefully a part 2 in the making in the next couple of months if you all are able and willing. Mr. Lott, Miss Connor, I appreciate you all adding to the conversation.
Thank you.
Our theme here is smart conversations for the next generation. I feel like this conversation was definitely a part of that, and I appreciate your time
Thank you.
and your input to some things that need to be talked about that really need to have communities other than just the Black community talking. So thank you so much for your input today. As we close out, I just want to say thank you again to Ms. Connor and Mr. Lott for being here on our podcast today. So as we close, I would like to say to everyone who is watching, just always remember, do not dim your light for anyone. Always remember that self-awareness is the real flex. Until the next time, Joe, bring the beat in.